What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So today, as I normally do, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to film today, and I thought that it would be kind of a fun idea to talk about the products that I've either publicly shamed or have privately really disliked, but then changed my mind on. I'm realizing more and more often that sometimes my first impressions aren't correct, and even the products that I think are horrible for me are actually pretty good. And then I like them. So I hope you guys are gonna enjoy today's video. Let me know in the comments if you've tried any of the products that I'm talking about. And if you have you had a similar experience to me? Just let me know all of your thoughts as usual. Hit the thumbs up button if you did like today's video, and subscribe if you wanna join the fam. And without further ado, let's reverse shit talk. So the first product that I'm gonna talk about is one that I've already publicly repented. And that is the Charlotte Tilbury quads. So back in the day, I used to say how much I disliked the Charlotte Tilbury quads because I found that the eyeshadow formula was very, very stiff and difficult to work with. And Charlotte Tilbury is obviously a luxury brand. So when you're paying top dollar for an eyeshadow palette, especially just for eyeshadows, you expect that the eyeshadows are going to be at the top of their game, that they're gonna be amazing. I don't think that's asking too much, like I said, especially when you are paying top dollar for eyeshadow. I'm pretty convinced that there was some sort of reformulation that happened, that the formula obviously was changed to the point where I feel like the eyeshadows actually did get a lot better. Now, I still do think that these are very expensive, especially for just 4 eyeshadows, but I at least believe that the 4 eyeshadows that you are getting are really great quality. The finishes are quite beautiful, and I think if you do decide to spend your money on this, you won't be disappointed. So I wanted to pull 2 of my favorite Charlotte Tilbury quads. The first one that I have here is called Luxury Palette of Pops in Starlight. What I love about this particular quad is that this is basically a little palette of eyeshadow toppers. So this isn't necessarily a palette that you would buy to do a full look with, but this is a great palette to have in your collection if you wanna add something to an existing eyeshadow look. All 4 of these shades are sparkly and have a lot of dimension to them, and when you put them on your lid, they really create such a beautiful pop and shine. And what I also really love about this quad is that all 4 of these shades are very different from one another, especially when it comes to a quad. You really want that variety, otherwise you're just getting 4 of kind of the same but different. So again, if you are spending extra bucks on a Charlotte Tilbury quad, you want every single shade in the quad to be usable to you. So while I'm here with the palette, I'm just gonna show you guys what this looks like. I'm gonna take the champagne shade and I'm just gonna pick it up on my finger and pop it right in the center of my lid. This is probably my favorite shade in the palette, which is quite boring of me to say, but look at that gorgeous effect that just created on my lid. What I really like about this particular formula is that it's actually not super pigmented, so you're able to create this kind of wet look with a lot of her metallic eyeshadows. The other 3 shades in here are very similar to that. They're not crazy pigmented, but they're not meant to be. They really are supposed to be more so just like a topper, and they just give the lid a really nice wash of shimmer and sparkle with that little bit of that color undertone. My second favorite palette from Charlotte Tilbury, which I do feel like you can get more of a complete look with, is the Exaggerize Bigger Better Eyes Filter Palette. So this guy has a matte brown, this taupe shade, which is a similar formula to the ones that I just showed you, a really pretty rose gold metallic, and then a creamy metallic shade as well. So here's what all 4 of the shades look like swatch. And like I said, the mattes have definitely improved. I mean, look at this one. That was one swatch. Here, I'll do it again so you guys could really see. It's super smooth and creamy, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, the quality is there. So next I want to talk about a product that I don't think I've publicly said that I didn't like it, but I had a lot of trouble with it off camera when I first started using it, and it took me some time to learn how to use this product in a way that I actually liked. And once I figured that out, I really loved the way that this product looked and performed. So that is the Tower 28 Bronzino bronzer in the shade West Coast. So if you're not familiar with this product, this is basically a cream bronzer, but it's really not a typical cream bronzer that I am personally familiar with working with. I do find that most cream bronzers are completely matte, like they don't have any extra shimmer in them. This one, however, does have some gold shimmer in it, which kind of made it a little bit different for me. Formula of the Tower 28 creams are very emollient and almost wet, like they're incredibly creamy. And because of that, they do do give a lot of sheen to the skin. So the combination of the texture with the addition of the gold shimmer that's in this bronzer, it does give like a pretty intense sheen to the face. And I found that when I first started using this, I almost felt like I was applying a highlighter throughout my entire face, which is really pretty, but I was using this obviously as a bronzer and I didn't want my whole face to look really like shiny and highlighted in the areas that I wanted to bronze. But I actually figured out a way that I love using this product, and it's not by itself. So what I'll do is I'll go in first with another cream bronzer. So for example, the Fenty creams, those are completely matte, and I'll put that in all the areas that I would typically bronze. So across my forehead, on my cheekbone, down my jawline, and that gives a really nice naturally bronzed look, also a naturally sculpted look. Then what I really love to do is I go in with Bronzino and I'll take my sponge, and I'll show you guys even though I am already wearing it today, and I'll pick up a little bit of the product, and really a little bit goes a long way because this is so creamy. And then what I'll do is I'll very specifically apply this just on my cheekbone area, almost also where I would apply my highlight. So a little bit higher than where I typically bronze. So kind of like right over here. So what this does is obviously it will add even more warmth to my skin, but because of this nice gold sheen that this product has, it's also gonna give me a really pretty glow. So the only other place I'll put it is maybe a little bit across my nose, just because it gives like a cute little bronzy glow effect, but I won't put it on the other areas of my face, and I find that gives me the most natural look. And like I said, I really love the way it looks when I apply it that way, because it does give me that really pretty glow in the area where I would be glowing anyway, which is right on the tops of my cheekbones. But again, that's not over the top or unnatural looking at all. So next, let's talk about the Laura Mercier translucent powder. Now, this was never really a product that I ever said that I hated, and I've never hated this product, but I have said that I don't think that this is worth the hype. There was a point where I tried this and I just didn't think that it made my skin look so great. I found that it made my skin look a little bit heavy and too cakey, and that was because I was applying this a little bit too heavily. So when this powder got really, really popular online, it was when baking was like at its peak. Everybody was using powder to bake. And when you bake your makeup, you have to apply an excess amount of powder, you let it sit, and then you wipe it off. Now for me, as somebody with dry skin, baking isn't usually the best method of applying powder, just because it makes my skin look incredibly heavy almost always, no matter what powder I use. And because this powder was so popular for baking, I was only using this powder to bake my concealer or bake my foundation, and I just never really liked the way that it looked. I now understand that not every makeup technique is for everybody. Baking really just isn't for me. Sometimes I do it, and when I do it, I still use a very, very small amount of powder. I don't go in heavy because, like I said, my skin type just doesn't allow for it. I find that when you do apply this in more of a minimal way, when you just kind of brush on a really light layer of powder, it does a really, really good job of just airbrushing your pores, making your skin look really nice and smooth. It doesn't look too heavy, especially when you don't pile on an excess amount, and it just looks great. It's definitely dry skin approved as long as you do apply a sheer layer of powder. If you have a product that you feel like looks maybe a little bit too heavy, try scaling back and just applying a lot less of it, and that may solve the issue. I know that sounds really obvious, but sometimes we need to be reminded that you don't always need to pile on product to get a beautiful effect. And sometimes I gotta be reminded of that too. So I'm gonna demonstrate how little powder I actually apply. I just pick up the smallest amount. I don't even dip into where there's like the pile of powder over here. I dip in on the side where there's just a few little sprinklings. And right now I'm using this Hourglass dual-ended brush. I really do like this brush because it's really fluffy. The type of brush that you use does also affect how your powder is gonna apply. The fluffier and less dense your brush, the lighter it's going to apply the powder. I'm just gonna tap off the excess as well. And I'm just going to lightly apply to my face. And it's gonna do a really good job of lightly mattifying, lightly setting, but not adding any heaviness at all. And on top of that, like I said, I really do find that it makes my skin look extra poreless and smooth. And can I just say, if you apply your powder that lightly, this thing is going to last you for over a year. So the next product that I want to talk about is from Becca, and it is the Under Eye Brightening Corrector in light to medium. So this is basically a cream color corrector. It's a very, very light pink shade, and it's quite a thick and creamy and very emollient cream. It actually feels very similar to the Tower 28 Bronzino. So this is meant to put underneath the eyes to color correct like dark circles. Now I actually bought this years ago and I really didn't like it because I found that the consistency of the product was really thick. And so when I would put it underneath my eyes and then go in with concealer on top of it, kind of just made for a really heavy under eye look. And that was until my mom actually changed my mind about this product. I think it was, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. I had my mom on my channel and I tried her makeup routine with her. And in her makeup routine, she had the Becca under eye corrector and she didn't use it underneath her eyes. Instead, she used it on the inner corner of her eyes. And that was something for some reason that I never considered. I always put this like fully underneath my eyes and never just concentrated right on the inner corners. And wow, this just on the inner corners of the eye makes such a huge difference in just how bright your eyes look. And it's just like the perfect natural inner corner highlight. And so that kind of solved the issue that I was having with this product, which was that I found that it looked really heavy underneath my eyes because the only place that I put it is right on the inner corner. And so it just doesn't look heavy. So thank you, Mom, for helping me change my mind about a product that I didn't like. So I am already wearing eyeshadow today, obviously, but I still want to show you guys what this can do for the inner corners of the eye. So I'm just taking a teeny tiny little brush and picking up a little bit of the product and even dabbing off some of the excess because you really don't need a lot since it's such a small little area. And you just want to dab it right on that inner corner. And so I put it right here to about here. And then I kind of just wipe off the brush and just buff the edges so that it's not just like a stark line. And you see how that just immediately canceled out the darkness that was actually still there. You could actually really see the difference between this eye that has nothing and this eye. It really works really well. Okay, so the last product that I want to talk about is the concealer. This is a product that I've had definitely quite the roller coaster experience with because it's been very up and down, but I've been on a high for a while now. So I think it's very safe to say that I love this concealer and it's one that I consistently use. And that is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. When I first started using this, I did really like it. I then went through a period where I just really didn't like this concealer and I didn't really understand why it was worth the hype. There was a period of time that when I would use this product, I found that it looked very heavy underneath my eyes, that it looked really cakey, and I just never really liked the finish of it. I gave it a bit of a break, and when I came back to it, I started to love the concealer again. And not only did I start to really like the finish and the way that this concealer looked and wore, but I also started to gain an appreciation for the concealer shade range. I do really feel like the NARS concealer shade range is quite an extensive one. You really do get such a variety, not only of actual tonal range, but also of undertones. And that's something that I really do appreciate because there's sometimes when I do want more of like a peachier undertone concealer. There's sometimes when I want something that really matches my skin perfectly. So I want something more neutral toned. Sometimes I want something more pinkier toned. And I really do find that I'm able to get all of those options in that shade range, which I really love. I actually think one of the reasons why there was a point in time where I just didn't like this product is similar to the reason that I didn't like the Laura Mercier translucent powder. And that was because I was likely just over applying this. Again, there was a specific point in time where I really did fall into the Instagram makeup rabbit hole, and I just really over applied a lot of my products because that's what I was seeing people do on Instagram. And even though I feel like I knew better, I still did it because that's just what everybody really did. It is they applied like giant triangles of concealer underneath the eyes when sometimes you just really didn't need that. And so obviously with a concealer that is more of like a medium to full coverage, if you're gonna over apply it, you are gonna get a bit of a heavier look. So I've learned to not do that. And instead I apply my concealer pretty sparingly across the board, no matter what the brand or formula is. And I find I always am happier with the end result and the effect that I do get. And so this concealer has definitely become one of my go-tos. I do feel like it's one that I can always depend on, and I know what I'm gonna get when I go to it. I do feel like it's a really good in-between concealer. It's not super dewy or super matte. It lands right in the middle. It's also not like crazy thick and full coverage, but it's not a super sheer formula either. Again, it kind of lands right in the middle. So I do feel like this is the perfect in-between concealer that's always going to give me good coverage, not a lot of heaviness underneath my eyes, and it's also going to just wear and last really well throughout the day. So I think I've gone to the point where I've stepped off the emotional roller coaster, and we've now become friends forever. All right, guys, that is it. Those are the 5 products that I used to dislike and dislike no longer. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments. Hit the thumbs up button if you did like it, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.